Hello, everybody. I'm Don Finn. I'm president of the Coalition on Adult Basic Education, and I also serve as the publications chair for COABE. And part of that responsibility is overseeing the production of the COABE Journal. Well, I'm very pleased today to be joined by four authors of one of the articles that is being featured in our workplace edition of the COABE Journal. The article is entitled Professional Development and Lifelong Learning, Analyzing 21st Century Problem-Solving Skills in the U.S. Workforce. And so I'm very pleased. We have three colleagues from Auburn University and from East Carolina University as well, who are going to share insights into their article to talk a little bit about the findings from their article and the implications of that. So I'm going to go ahead and give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves first. So Christy Rhodes, would you please introduce yourself and just pass it on to the next person?
Wonderful. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Christy Rhodes. I'm an associate professor at East Carolina University in the adult education program.
Hello, everyone. I'm Leslie Cordie. I'm an associate professor of adult education at Auburn University.
So hello, everyone. My name is Lucas Adelino. I'm currently a tutor at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I was formerly a graduate student, a master's student at Auburn University.
Hello, I'm Michael Wooten. I'm a professor of genetics, assistant department chair in the Department of Biological Sciences at Auburn University.
Well, it's so good to meet all of you. Thank you so much again for joining us today. So let me just throw out a general question, and any of you can jump in on that. Why did you write this article for the COABE Journal?
Oh, well, Don, thank you. That's a great question. If you guys don't mind, I'll start with that. So if you noticed, we have a variety of backgrounds on this writing team. So we come from adult basic education and literacy, workforce development, higher ed. But the writing of the article actually began when Dr. Cordie and I attended a training about using the PIAC data sets, the Program for the International Assessment of Adult Skills. And I know some of you may be familiar with the cognitive parts of the PIAC, so the literacy, the numeracy, and the problem-solving items. But hopefully, and after you read our article, you'll also become a little more familiar with the extensive background questionnaire, which it also includes. And we use, so that background questionnaire, just so you know, has activities and attitudes, which we know are aligned to some of those cognitive levels. So so our article really looks specifically at the relationship between some demographic variables that we got from the background questionnaire and then problem solving in technology-rich environments. But I guess to more directly answer why it's a good fit for the COABE Journal and why we were excited about publishing with COABE is, if you think about it, so the field of adult education, really specifically adult basic ed and literacy, it played an important role in helping adult learners enhance their literacy and numeracy skills for decades, right? We all know that. But that has also branched out and developed into helping many of those same learners transition to other classes. So classes focused on workplace skills development. We know COABE has undoubtedly been a leader in spreading that word, so to speak, and really helping everyone learn more about the availability of those classes, also the need for and the success of those additional classes. I taught in Florida before moving to North Carolina, so I was very fortunate to get firsthand experience with VSOL, for example, which is vocational English for speakers of other languages. And so I guess we really felt that our article takes that foundational belief in the importance of skills development and really just extends it a little bit further for our friends in adult basic ed and literacy and kind of places a lifelong learning framework on it. But we just think that connection was quite strong and quite clear. So we hope you do too.
Thank you, Christy. Appreciate that. And so, before we move on, I think people probably have heard of PIAC, but I wonder if we could get, kind of a summary of, what the PIAC survey is and why you looked at this data set for this article.
So I guess, Don, I'll take that one. Christy alluded to the fact that we had some training on PIAC, and PIAC, she said, was the program for the International Assessment of Adult Competency. So you can see that it's a mouthful, and so that's kind of why we call it the PIAC, right? And there is a large survey that's part of the PIAC, which is the Survey of Adult Skills, and it measures anything from adult proficiency in literacy, numeracy, and problem solving. And so it's not just about though at work, it's also about how those skills are used at home and in the wider community, which is really important. And so that really can attract a lot of practitioners and scholars. And it's an international survey, right? We looked at the United States, but it's conducted in over 40 countries and economies. So it's really a good, well, just a very robust data set, right? In terms of exploring different types of questions, especially in relationship to skills and demographics.
Great. Thank you so much for explaining that, Leslie. I really do appreciate that. And so, one of the things that the COABE journal really emphasizes is the whole the research to practice kinds of elements. And so, with that in mind, with the practitioner in mind, how will adult education practitioners benefit from reading your article, and subsequently, how will that benefit their learners?
I think I take that one too, Don, if that's all right with everyone. I really like the fact that, there's this hard data set, right? That anyone can access, the public can access, the practitioners can access, and it has the ability for us to look at different types of questions in relationship to age, gender, education, types of skills, workplace, home, community, right? So there's lots of different things that we can look at, and we can focus in on our adult learners' specific needs. So we can really understand our learner better, right? And so we looked at problem solving in relationship to technology-rich environments. And that was because we know that that's a critical skill in today's workplace, right? So everybody wants to understand what's going on in the workplace. And we found, for instance, one example is we found that problem solving declines with age. So what does that mean, right? Oh, that's a very important finding. And so we can think about, well, how can we develop these skills as the learner ages? Or what experiences are important at different types of age levels, right? Another example would be the idea of gender. And we know that there's been a lot of gender studies out there, but we know that gender is very important all across the world. But there was a significant difference in terms of gender. So we had to separate those out. And so again, we might have to focus in our different types of training in terms of access, right? Who is accessing our training, and what opportunities are we giving to females in terms of developing those skills? And lastly, we found the idea that maybe there is a relationship between career success and these problem-solving skills, right? So as practitioners, we can develop the trainings that hopefully motivate and encourage our learners to attain certain types of skills, right? That'll be critical to them in terms of workplace success.
That's great. Thank you so much, Leslie. Really appreciate that. And so, ultimately, what are the takeaways from this article? What do you, as the authors, hope that the readers will take away after reading this article?
So I can take that one. What I hope the readers can take away from the article is just the importance of studying the problem-solving skills of different adult populations. So as was just said, problem solving is such an important skill for adults. It's how we deal with changes in the workplace, it's how we learn to adapt. And I think that's always been the case. But I think especially now with the pandemic, what the pandemic did is it just directed a spotlight into this. So it's not a new phenomenon, but it's just more evident now. And I think because of that, we need to understand how different adults are proficient in problem solving. The adult population is clearly such a broad category. There's such rich diversity in backgrounds, education levels, income, just such a diverse population. We need to understand how adults in their complexity and in their diversity are proficient in problem solving. So our study showed that there's actually a complex relationship between problem solving skills and some of the factors that we just outlined, like age, gender, and education level. Some of these relationships are linear. So for instance, the more education, the better the problem solving skills on average. But some of these relationships are not linear. And sometimes these factors intersect in pretty unpredictable ways. So I think that complexity just shows really how important it is that we understand this area, that we understand how different adults are proficient in problem solving skills. I hope an appreciation of that complexity and of that importance is what readers can take away from this study.
Yeah, those are definitely some great points, and clearly, you know, in light of COVID-19 and you know, as we're entering into post-COVID, hopefully, the idea of problem-solving skills for our learners as well as our practitioners is just critical in order to get things moving again. And I really appreciate, Lucas, what you said, that the pandemic has really shed some extra light on that, has really highlighted the importance of problem-solving skills, and not to mention the global economy and so on. So yeah, thanks. That's a really great point. So kind of to land this plane, kind of to bring this thing home, I'm curious, what additional comments or what additional points would you like to share with our readers?
Well, I'll take that one. I'm obviously the odd person out here as far as background. People may wonder why a geneticist is doing this, but I have a statistics background. But research is research, and I think that when you do research, you usually have two goals, at least two. But one is to address the questions that you pose, try to gather the data and analyze the data, and come forward and hopefully bring those questions forward and hopefully into a global, broader perspective. And I think hopefully this paper did that for some of the people, particularly practitioners. But the second goal of pretty much any research is that, you know, you want to find new questions. You want to lead you to new questions, and we certainly hope that that's done. And I think there's several, but the obvious ones here are this was a one-time cut. So PIEC is a one-time frame, looking at what happens there. The program is set up to do multiple times. So, you know, looking longitudinally is going to be very important. And that's certainly important for the practitioners. You know, if practitioners look at this and other papers and say, yes, there's gender issues, there's age issues, and start to try to address those, then the future will be, well, did it work? You know, and how did it work? Where did it work? Another question, obviously, is that going right to the immediate is that, as Leslie said, PDAC is international. There's lots of data out there. So we've already started, and other groups have started to look at cross countries and say, okay, this was in the U.S., United States. Well, what does it look like if we go into European systems, other systems where you have different educational approaches, different avenues for the adult learner, and for different ways of being a practitioner? So I think those are things hopefully this paper will lead us to and lead others to.
Thank you so much for that, Michael. And thanks to Leslie, Christy, and Lucas. Really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedules to join us and to help our readers, give them some insights into your article. Again, the title is Professional Development and Lifelong Learning, Analyzing 21st Century Problem-Solving Skills in the U.S. Workforce. So highly recommend that you take a look at this article. There's a lot to consider as it relates to problem-solving skills and so on. So again, thanks to all of you for joining us, and have a good day.